Is it a real possibility that Drake Maye could take the field as the Patriots starting quarterback on, I believe it is September 8th against the Cincinnati Bengals?
Yes, and I don't think that's a changing narrative. I'm going to give you, as you like to say, a little pushback.
Oh, I like it.
As he said, there was a competition the entire time. Best player would play. Jacoby was the starter, and he did say 3 words, "at this point." So I do think he has left the door cracked. I had no belief, zero belief, not a belief that there would be any strolling through the door by Drake Maye. But it's been a confluence of circumstances that I think I'll let Phil Perry address, because it was his missive to me last Sunday when I was probably playing golf and not at practice that made me say, really? And that was that Jacoby Brissett was starting to flatline a little bit.
Yeah, I just think in terms of accuracy and decision-making and how quickly the ball was getting out, it just wasn't to the same level where it was early in camp, when there was a clear delineation between which guy was the better quarterback day after day after day after day. And then over the course of the last week, maybe week and a half, I would say Drake Maye has closed the gap. Now, is he decisively better? Practice like today's where there weren't a ton of quarterback reps you'd watch, you would not say Drake Maye was decisively better than Jacoby Brissett. If anything, Jacoby Brissett made the play of the day and the throw of the day. And the biggest thing to me, Andrew, is that he is still getting all of the first team reps. That means snaps from David Andrews. That means playing in front of the first team offensive line. Drake Maye doesn't get those. He got a couple of half-speed snaps with the Andrews on Saturday, and maybe that's a sign of some movement. Like maybe the coaches are thinking about it somewhere down the line that he might actually get some work with these guys outside of a preseason game, but we haven't seen that. So all indications on the field, despite whatever anybody says, is that Jacoby Brissett is still the starting quarterback.
And that's the big thing. I haven't thought in all my years covering the NFL of a single position competition where one guy gets all the starting reps and we're like, the backup might be close. But here's the thing. Drake Maye has never been closer to this job. I just equate it to telling someone you've got an ETA, an hour and a half ride there. You hit traffic. Then you're behind 2 hours. Say I'm going to be delayed a little bit. And then you get into the clear. And so Drake Maye has never been closer to getting there. I just still think he's not closed what was a significant gap after 3 weeks. He's been the better quarterback every single day through the last week, games, practices. But he's still not made up enough ground to the point where he's even getting one starting rep in a competitive period.
Was he the best today?
I think so. Jacoby Brissett had the best play, but he also took 2 sacks. I think Drake Maye made more difficult throws in 7-on-7s, and 11-on-11s went to Brissett. But I think overall the body of work today, I like what I saw out of Drake Maye better than Brissett.
Is there enough time for Drake Maye to get ready to be your starting quarterback in week 1? I mean, we're not that far away.
No. In my opinion, yeah, if you give them all the first team reps next week. When we watched this happen with Mac Jones and Cam Newton, Mac was getting all the first team reps after Cam took the first ones. And then Mac had come out and get extended play. And that kind of cowed people into believing that Cam was a starter because he was still getting the first reps. But the lack of reps and the fact that, as Gerard Mayo pointed out, this week they're really getting into a game plan week. So if you're getting into a game plan week, and Jacoby Brissett is going to be your starter on Thursday, which I believe he probably will be, you're not going to say, hey, guess what? Good news. You're the starter for the opener, rookie. So I think they've kind of run out of time.
Should they have run out of time, Phil? Because this does feel like maybe a missed opportunity.
Listen, I've been saying for a long time that I feel like they should be splitting up the work with that starting offensive line and just get Drake Maye some more competent linemen, for lack of a better word, out there on a regular basis to give him a better quality in terms of the snaps that he's getting in practice. I mean, there have been a lot of practices, especially earlier in camp and when the pads first came on, where he's behind the second unit offensive line, and as soon as the ball is snapped, if it even gets to him, because the center position has been an issue, there's pressure in his face almost immediately, and it disrupts the entire play. So in order to get the best evaluation of Mac Jones, I've always felt like they needed to play him behind David Andrews and the rest of that starting offensive line more. They haven't done it as a missed opportunity. You're trying to strike that balance, Andrew, right, between getting ready to actually play week 1 with the guy you think is most ready to play week 1 and be competitive and develop your young quarterback. They leaned toward the former as opposed to the latter for the majority of camp. Oh, exactly, in a season 2 where you're not hoping to win that many games. Like, let's just be honest. You just traded your best player for a third-round pick. It was a good trade, Phil, as you and I discussed last week on The Late Show. But ultimately, the big goal of this season is to find foundational pieces, in Gerard Mayo's own words. Drake Maye is going to be the biggest piece of that foundation for the future. So there's no rush on their part. I'll also say this. I don't think he earned first-team reps within those first couple of weeks. We were up here saying, maybe C+ kind of impression.
We were killing him 2 weeks ago.
Right.
killing
Right.
him.
And he's gotten better.
But that was in large part.
Right, Phil was attributing.
I have said it for most of the summer.
protection.
I think it was because of the protection. It was impossible to get a great read on the guy because the line was that bad. And then in the first preseason game, they didn't play him because they were afraid he was going to get hurt behind the backup offensive line.
But you know what's funny about this? He took fewer sacks even in that period than Jacoby Brissett did. So he did have to move. He was under a lot of duress. Like going back to the driving analogy, it's like being thrown out of the Autobahn after you get your learner's permit. Like that's just too much too fast. But for him, I think the difference is he's just owed protection in a way that every quarterback is. Like if I'm going to stand up back here with the ball, give me guys who can block. They only have about 4 to 5 of those right now, which means Jacoby Brissett gets all the time with them.
Jacoby. We had the paint chip diet take that Joe Milton was surpassing Drake Maye. We were saying that 2 weeks ago.
No, not we.
Right.
Some folks.
We were trying to break that down. We were trying to put that back into the toothpaste tube. But it does show the growth of Maye. It does show a leveling off, but not a desperate, disgusting performance by Jacoby Brissett. So from 30,000 feet, Trenni, this is a good sign for the franchise in general, that Drake Maye has made up the stagger to the point where we're sitting here on August 19th and having this conversation.